Okay, welcome back. Our video this afternoon is going to talk about weathering. Okay. Weathering, erosion, and deposition are all concepts that we talk about. They're ideas that we talk about in science. And so we're going to break them down. We're going to take them one at a time, and this one's about weathering. I have a poster in my classroom that looks similar to this. And it's just a visual to help you understand and kind of remember the definition of weathering, because it's very easy. We do it a lot. We get weathering, erosion, and deposition, or weathering, erosion, confused. We get them mixed up. And so weathering, and what I did is just go big rock and wrote the word weathering in the middle of the big rock, and then I broke it into smaller pieces. And so take a second and sketch this maybe in your journal or on your note sheet to kind of help you understand that weathering is the breaking down of rocks from one piece to smaller pieces. Okay, and so you can have big letters and small ones, but that's what weathering is. And so have your note sheet handy as we go through this. There's just a few definitions and some examples of weathering that we'll give. This will be on a test soon. All right, so the first thing you need to write down on your note sheet is that weathering is the breaking down of rocks into smaller pieces that remain near each other. It's important that you understand that they remain near each other. And it may only last for a moment, but weathering is just the simple action of breaking the rock. Erosion moves the rock and deposition drops it. But weathering is the process that breaks the rock. So push pause if you need to. Write this in your notes sheet. Come back when you're ready and we'll go on. There are two different types of weathering that we will discuss. We are going to talk about mechanical, and we're going to talk about chemical. Okay. On your note sheet, here's a definition of mechanical weathering. So press pause if you need to, get this definition written down, and then come back, and when you do, we'll talk about it. Mechanical weathering is the physical breaking of rock without any change to the chemical composition of the rock. Now, you learned before that the chemical composition is its chemistry. What atoms, what molecules make up that rock? Can you point to the periodic table and find some of those substances on there that make up a rock, like carbon and hydrogen and oxygen? Okay, so mechanical weathering doesn't change any of that. I can take a piece of limestone and hit it with a hammer and have 10 smaller pieces of limestone, and that would be considered mechanical weathering. I wouldn't have changed the limestone in any way. Okay. The other form is chemical. Chemical weathering is defined as the breaking of rock because of the chemical changes in the rock. The breaking into smaller pieces happens because something changed to the chemistry. Something changed in the chemical compounds that hold that rock together. And because it changed, because those chemical bonds changed, then the rock broke down. Now, in class and through activities and labs, we're going to see examples of these two things happening. So right now it's important that you write down the definition, that we can work with that when we come back to class. Okay. On your note sheet, you need to write down examples, because you're going to have to list some examples on the test. We will see some of these in class. We will actually get to experience some of these in class. So here are some examples of mechanical, and I'll explain these just a little bit, and we'll see some more in class. Ice wedging, exfoliation, thermal, and biotic. Okay, the examples of chemical are oxidation and carbonation. Press pause, get those written down on your note sheet, and come back when you're ready, and we'll talk about it a little bit. Okay, ice wedging happens when water, rainwater, or even it could be snowmelt in the spring, gets down into pre-existing cracks in rocks, or joints in rocks. When the temperatures fall at night, or again in the wintertime, that ice will freeze and expand. As water freezes and expands, it puts force on the rocks. Well, over time, that expanding water, when it freezes, is going to cause that rock to break. Exfoliation. The best way I can explain exfoliation is what you do with a nail file when you trim your nails. You take something abrasive like a nail file and you rub it up against something else, your nails, and it wears them away. Well, exfoliation happens when wind or some other agent of weathering picks up rocks and other sediments and rubs it off. It's exfoliation. Okay, thermal goes along with ice wedging. It's just a change in temperature. Some rocks break when they get hot. They could be sitting in the sun for long periods of time in the desert. It could be a result of a forest fire. So those are some ways that thermal changes can cause mechanical weathering. And then biotic. I'm sure you've seen roots make the sidewalk buckle. Or maybe you've actually seen a tree grow in the side of a cliff. As those roots force their way down and push apart the rock, that's considered mechanical weathering. We saw some of the force necessary when we did our geotropisms. Those roots have incredible force to overcome gravity, to push away the soil, and so the biotic forces are enough to break rock as well. Okay, the chemical weathering we'll see in class is oxidation and carbonation. You've heard about oxidation before when you heard about rusting. In 6th grade, hopefully you learned what happens when oxygen combines with other elements. That's called oxidation. Iron is an element that we find naturally in the soil and in rocks. And so maybe you've picked up a reddish, brownish looking rock, and chances are, or maybe it's rubbed off on your hands. Okay, that's oxidation. That's what happens when oxygen reacts. That oxidation can cause a change chemically to make those rocks break down as well. And then the last one is carbonation. Plants, their roots can also, lichens, we'll talk about lichens in class. Lichens make a type of acid that break down, and the carbonation, that's part of that. Also, agents like acid rain.
Paul Newman, come to the office, please.
Agents like acid rain, where pollution, air pollution, the rain clouds fall through the air pollution and cause acid rain, carbonic acid. So, those are our examples. Make sure you have them written down. If you have any questions, you can message me right away on Edmodo, or you can bring them to class tomorrow and we'll talk about it. Thanks for watching.